Hi, welcome to Inside the Moms Club, where being a mom is the coolest place to be. Here in the Moms Club, we believe that what embarrasses you now will make a great story later. And let's face it, if you don't laugh sometimes, you're going to cry. Join us in having a good laugh together. I'm Monica Samuels. You are now a member of Inside the Moms Club, your private destination for all things mom. Welcome, moms everywhere. So glad everyone could join us today. It's a really fun show, and I'm here with my co-host, Leslie Harrell. Hello, Leslie.
Hello, glad to be here.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, since we did our last show, it's been some interesting times. I went out of town with my husband for a week, and we left our oldest son here to take care of the house, which was interesting. And he recently, have you actually seen my Oura Ring? Oura Ring, which monitors every part of my health, or that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to tell you if your blood pressure's okay, if you're sleeping okay, how you're doing. So you know how competitive I am. Jared, my oldest son, he has an Oura Ring too. So for a while, I was shaming him because I was getting better sleep scores than he was, and it was kind of driving him crazy. And he finally told me he thought it was because they discount some for senior citizens. They let older people score a little better, but I don't believe that. But long story short, while we were out of town, we'd been gone a couple of days, and I called to Jared. I said, "How's the house?" And he said, "It's good." And he said, "But here's the thing, Mom." He said, "My Oura Ring scores," he said, "I have never gotten optimal ever until you all left." And now it's optimal.
He's running the house. He's got it all.
Well, yeah, but I guess we must be stressing him out.
I think as parents, are we always stressed?
Yeah, I guess so. But I had mixed feelings about that one.
I know, but I think they see us, and my husband's the same way. It's if we had an Oura Ring, I saw the other day where there's an app that'll tell your mood, how your tone. I don't know if anybody else has seen this, but I saw some random commercial about an app that's now out there that if I'm talking to my husband and I say something in a certain phrase, it'll alert me that my tone was aggressive or rude or not friendly or not loving, and I'm I'm not sure I need something to sit around and tell me that.
And how does it do that? It's on your phone?
It's it's on your phone.
You get an alert
to your voice, and it tells you it says, "Hey, you're
rude."
Yeah, you're being rude. And who's not rude when your husband leaves dishes in the sink? Who doesn't? There's no magic fairy that comes down and puts the dishes in the sink. I'm it's not that hard. You used a dish. Well, no, you wash it off and you put it in the dishwasher.
There is a magic fairy.
Well, I don't know who it is.
It's called Mom.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not really for that because I'm I have a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old and a 50-year-old husband, and I'm everybody here is capable. You can reach the sink, you don't need a stepladder, you're beyond that stage, and so everybody can just contribute.
Yes, it would be nice if they would. I do think that my spouse is getting he's trying to get better.
Yeah.
So with the tone, maybe we need to get that because we're getting there. So for the longest time, he complains that we have too many pillows on our bed because, of course, I buy I try every kind of pillow. I should do one of those consumer, here's the 10 best pillows for you to try, and this is what's going to happen. So he complains about that, and it's always some nasty comment. So this morning, on my messages from him, I got a heart, which is very nice, and then it said, "I slept okay, but we have a weird thing going on with the pillows." So it wasn't he was trying to be nice.
Yeah.
So I will now address, that issue because it wasn't presented to me in a nasty,
bad,
insulting way. So
we potentially have a pillow issue that we need to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to, I'm terrible at it. I totally admit it. I'm terrible at, I wouldn't say I'm passive aggressive necessarily, but I'm definitely, just if you don't speak it, they don't know. So the pillow, if he doesn't say look, the pillows that drive me crazy, mm-hmm. then how are you supposed to know telepathically that he has a pillow issue?
He has to say it in a nice way.
Yeah, and he does have to communicate.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing he used to do, and I was I was not stupid. I knew what was going on. He would take things he didn't like and he would just throw them away. So no, this is passive aggressive, I guess. I would just buy them again. So they would reappear.
Inexpensive.
Yeah. So, so that wasn't good communication.
Yeah,
that was not handling.
Is it, why did you buy it and why were they important to you was kind of the better.
Yeah. Well, the worst ones was whenever I was missing one shoe, I knew that he had just tossed the other one just in a random, There has to be good ways, to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled. I'm thrilled on so many levels about our guest today. We are huge fans of our guests.
Yeah, I just love them.
Kim Holderness is an internet personality who is best known for her family's YouTube and Facebook channels, which have over 5 million subscribers and 1 billion total downloads. And their most recent endeavor, which falls right into what we've been talking about, is a book about interpersonal relationships, improving your relationship in your marriage, called Everbody Fights. Well, yes, Everybody Fights.
I count it up.
So why not get better at it? Yes, and Leslie she has read it thoroughly.
I've read it thoroughly.
So she's ready for the exam that comes afterwards. So welcome, Kim. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Moms Club.
Well, thank you so much for having me here on the Moms Club. And Leslie, I absolutely, I travel with quizzes, so I will give you one right after this interview.
Yeah. Well, I just, you got to watch me because I could actually do a spoiler because I just read it all so thoroughly. But I think like an overview that I think is really cool. A couple of things that's so cool about this book is the fact that you start every chapter with a fight that you've had. And then you and Penn dissect the fight in admitting how each one of you responded to it. And then you have this great third party who, kind of puts it more in like a true like analytical perspective. And I just think like everyone, the first one is about the bra. Like there's not one person who I said, like, she says, I already took my bra off. And like every woman I know is like, oh God, yeah, when you take the bra off, we're done. Everybody's done. So was it hard to kind of come to those and bring them to the table?
No, it wasn't. I mean, the hard part was like narrowing down. We knew we wanted to do 10 fights, and we knew we wanted to tackle topics like the most, and we worked with our marriage counselor, the most common ones, which are, it's always like money, sex, and power, right? That's what everybody fights about the most. So like these fights are all a variation of that. The trouble was like narrowing down which ones, because there were so many. I mean, a lot of them are silly. They sound so silly. Like he wanted to go out to dinner. We were going through some stuff. He wanted to go out to dinner, but I had already taken my bra off. And he's like, and that one, the Battle of the Bra, was kind of an example of something that we learned called like stay in the airport. It's because that fight was like, I already took my bra off. And he's like, great. I mean, another day of you being spontaneous. And so he's being passive aggressive about me not being spontaneous. Then I'm like, yeah. And I actually like to save our money. And I don't want to go out and like waste our money on restaurant food every day. So like we just started like spiraling into this bigger, and we had,
and you don't like my cooking. And
right. Like it was this huge fight when in reality, if we just stayed in that, and not to say these other fights aren't important, not to say you won't tackle those, but if you stayed in that one fight, it can keep, I mean, because our issue was we kept having the same fights over and over again. Like the same issues would bubble up. But if you can really attack one fight at a time, and even now, I mean, like last week we started, and by fights, by the way, guys, I don't mean like flipping tables and cussing each other out. Just like that little conflict.
Yeah.
We started having like a little conflict. Things were getting a little tense. And then I brought up something else and he's like, whoa, stay in the airport. I'm like, oh, you're totally right. Like that's a tomorrow issue. Like we'll deal with it tomorrow.
I'm going to make a note on that one and I'm going to go, I'll tackle that one tomorrow. But we'll solve this issue first.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think it's cool because you guys do it so respectfully, and I think it's, I mean, I was going to read just one thing out of here that I thought was so cool, that when you talk about the 1 + 1 is 1, mm-hmm. and you say, I will witness your story, like that makes me almost cry, because that's really what marriage and relationships are about, is that you will end up through your life, have that one person that witnesses your story and can tell it. And I just think that was such a, like, just a really cool perspective, is that that's how you look at it.
That is the biggest thing we learned from just this journey and going through counseling, everything, is that, yeah, of course we learned how to communicate, we learned how to talk, but really we learned how to listen. and just he is my number one hype man. He is my personal PR agent. He is the person that like sees me for me. And like his job and my job are just, to hold space for each other's story, like the good, the bad, the ugly. And like, if we could all just do a little bit more of that, I mean, that profoundly changed our relationship to have that sort of framework around our marriage.
What was the impetus in writing the book initially? Because you worked together and lived together. Was it, what made you think, we need to write a book together about how you deal with
Right, because everybody needs like one more self-help book, right? Well, we started, we have this podcast and we talk a lot, and we would have our marriage counselor on, and it was all about just like trying to be better humans and working through things. And even in these silly videos we do, like the song and dance videos we do, people would be like, oh, you're like couples goals or whatever. And we're like, us? No, like we just thought about like what rhymes with booty. Like we're not couples goals. So we felt as we were trying to talk to more people about like what real marriage is, you can't really do that in a 3-minute video with jazz hands and choreography. Like there needed to be like room for nuance and to do it responsibly, which is like, listen, we're telling our story and what worked for us. But if there was space for like a counselor or a therapist to come in and use language around like research, that just needed more space. So we kind of pitch. And so it seems it is a stretch for a family known for goofy videos to write something. I think we laugh a lot in the book. It's parts of it are very funny, but it is a stretch to write a book about marriage help. But we just felt like we had a story to tell because we had our relationship had profoundly changed for the better. And we felt like, and just how we operate, like if I have a cool water bottle to tell you about, I want to tell you about it. And that's just how we are. Like this helped us. And just in our conversations with our friends, like we were able to talk and speak this new language. And I just felt like a book was the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm. And I think I'm not a big self-help book person. And so but I cruised through it. And I think there's a couple of factors that make it so easy to read is that it's lighthearted. I mean, and then you're both so open, you're more anxiety introvert, like more depression side. And then and now Penn has started wearing all these ADHD. My husband's ADHD too, but not technically diagnosed, but like he wears a sweatshirt all the time that says ADHD is awesome. And the fact that you guys have acknowledged that throughout the book. And I just love it because about every 10 pages, either one or the other of you will acknowledge how much you love each other. There's always a line in every single chapter that goes back to, she's my partner in life. And if she's going to be my partner in life, then I have to figure out why she got out of the car. What was really the core of it. And, and just taking that time and just the whole thing to me just was like, it just was all really about respect, but also uncovering the depth of it.
Well, thank you for saying that. I think at the end of the day, it's respect and empathy more than anything. Like understanding that your partner, in most cases, your partner is coming to you doing the best they can. Like even if the best they can on a given day is kind of crappy, and most of the time your partner really is trying, and sometimes they don't have the language, and sometimes we need to get to that spot because believe me, I've done some crappy things too, but the belief that other person is trying, it helped kind of reframe our relationship.
Yeah, what I love is that you all are so genuine even in your videos. I mean, they're just there's a lot of truth to them, so when people watch them, they're like, I've done that. Or, the
one where you're sitting on the phone and he's trying to work and you're following around the house and then he's eating an apple and you're like, I can still hear you.
Yeah.
That's just like what happens. Like, it's so funny. We just took a trip to Costco and I'm like, we came up with this skit because Penn became like a walking skit within Costco. I was like, that's just like how our brains work. I'm like, this is real. Because I know if we're doing it, you're doing it. And if it's happening in our house, it's happening in your house. And it's just, it's,
and I think normalizing it also makes everybody go, you got to take it down a notch. Like that's an everybody thing, you know? So then to dissect further and kind of go, well, what's going on? And all relationships, not just your marriage relationship, benefit from these tools of, like, one thing I loved is the why, because, you know,
and that's, I think it's like in our parenting, like,
yeah. And that's where I saw it, like with your kids, it's like, I think the stat you gave is something like it's X% more effective if you use the word because, if you just say, I want you to do X, and then it becomes that much more effective each time you give them a valid reason why. And, and then you get a better response.
Yeah. And it comes down to like, with when something more like within your marriage, it comes down to just like that because it's always like a primal like need for safety and security and boundaries and like that, because like gets to the root of like how we want to feel.
Yeah, I mean, I just, like I said, I could go on. Look, we could talk for 2 hours about that. I could go page to page with you and Penn and be like,
chapter by chapter.
Penn and my husband would sit there and make up songs all day long too, because my husband already does that. Like, not to y'all's level at all, but he's done that since.
What I thought was interesting is you come up with the ideas, and he comes up with like he can create a song out of your ideas, because when you're watching him, you're like, who came up with this? This is really clever.
Typically it's me, and he I don't care that, like, but I don't sing, and I don't know how to, like, we did a song about like this Generation X thing, because I was like, they're talking about boomers and then like the millennials, and then everybody's talking about Gen Z. I'm like, nobody's like giving Gen X any credit. And I said, we need like an anthem. We need a song. And so I put a Google Doc of like all the things that like Gen X is really good at. And then he made it rhyme and made it amazing and wrote a song. Like, I could never do that. So we're good partnership like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love how you brought Trivial Pursuit into that one.
I'm like, maybe that's just me, but that's, yeah.
Well, I actually learned something from your all's videos too. Like, I didn't realize the side part was not cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh, I gotta move.
We were having lunch with one of the Zoom moms, and she was getting her hair done on Tuesday, and she comes and she goes, all of a sudden my hairdresser was like, where's your part? She goes, it's not on the side. And she goes, and I don't even really know why I said it. She goes, but then
my 14-year-old like came up to me, and she, because my part is actually like really weird off center anyway, but I had my hair more like, on the side, and she came up and she was like digging in, trying to find the middle part. She's like, better than the middle. I'm like, what the hell is that? So that became a song.
You're 14 years. So how do your kids, like, I don't even know that our kids totally know that we do this podcast. We're kind of keep it on the down low in some respects. Eventually they'll figure that out. But how do they feel? I mean, they're part of your work.
Well, I think, so my daughter's 14, my son is 11. And from the very beginning, we've always said, like, if you don't want to do, this is like what we do, this doesn't have to be what you do. And we've always given them the option. And we've always paid them. They've always had bank accounts.
That's key.
So we like to joke, they are coin operated. So if we work with a brand, or like Lola loves to do these videos where she teaches me about skincare, or she teaches me about fashion, or she takes me, like this last weekend we went shopping, she's going to give me like a makeover. She like actually picked out this little like overall thing I'm wearing. She will look at the monetization to see how much money she made on the video. So she loves graphic design. So she designs like little stickers and stuff, and she has like a Redbubble account, but she's like learning the business. So and my son has a YouTube like gaming, I'm using air quotes thing, where he like, once a month he'll get on and play a video game, but he has to edit it. He has to post it. We watch it first, and there's no comments on the videos, anything like that. But like, it's a job option for them in a way that like, or if it's not that, I mean, what marketing job wouldn't, I mean, they're learning all this stuff. So right now they love it. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure I'm waiting for the time where my 14-year-old is like, it's embarrassing that my parents dance around like idiots. Like I'm sure that'll happen, but also like what teenager isn't embarrassed by their parents? So, I mean, but so we're waiting for that to happen. But right now they like it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Well, we are so excited to be able to talk to you, and we actually have a special guest here that we would like to introduce. Another special guest. She is our favorite fun mom of two kids, but you probably know her best as one of the co-hosts of Sirius XM Hits One Morning Mashup. Nicole Ryan is here. Nicole, hey.
Guys, I'm so happy to be back, and I'm so happy that you guys invited me into the Moms Club. I couldn't be more thankful, so thank you guys so much. I feel very honored.
We are thrilled that you're a member, and we are so excited. Now, you have a segment with us today called If I Could Go Back.
Yes, we've got a new segment that we're kicking off, and I mean, it's basically exactly what it sounds like. You know, the things that you wish you could go back and do over and do differently. It's like, why did I let my kid do that? Why did I get in that fight with my husband? Why did I do this? Whether it's big or small, just those things that you look back and it's like, if I had just done it a little bit different, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Things like, I don't know, my son has a horrible gag reflex. He throws up if I give him medicine. He throws up in the car. He throws up if he swallows water in the pool. I should have known he was going to throw up at the dentist. I should have just had him drugged. Instead, he projectile vomited all over me, the dentist, and himself. So that's something I wish I could go back and do a little bit differently. We left our luggage at the airport the last time we were traveling. Why? Because my husband thought I had it, and he thought I had it. Next time, I should just take full control. Why? Why did I even allow him to have any control over any of that? My daughter, I tried to give, a lesson about giving back and how grateful she should be for all the beautiful things that she has and is afforded to have. And I really went deep on it. Cut to, she's at the park and decides to give a necklace that we gave her that was very expensive to a little girl who said, I like your necklace. So she took it off her neck and gave it to her. So maybe I went a little too far, but it's all of those types of things. And the point isn't really to be regretful, but just to laugh at it and maybe look back and be like, could have gone a different way.
I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking I was thinking of more serious ones. If I had to go back and do it again, I wouldn't have let my kids have access to technology. I have a bunch of young friends, and it's like, they're all sometimes they'll ask you what's your advice? And it's like, you're always cautious because you don't want to sit there and just
of course.
But I'm like, dude, just stay away from technology as long as you can. Get them outside. My husband's nephew has now 5 children. His nephew just had their 5th child on Monday.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. And they're doing tiny home. They live out in the sticks and they're doing tiny home. And I'm like, the only positive that I can really think is what, those kids are outside all the time and they're not on technology, and they're we call them little Mowglis because they're just out, and the boys, there's 3 boys, they're out in their underwear just running around all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the best. And I totally swore to myself I never would allow them to be iPad kids. But guess what? Every once in a while, I can't get something done unless I give them the iPad. But that's one of those things that I think we're always going to feel a little bit torn in 2 different directions.
I like your example is much better, though. They're much funnier.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a lot of funny things that happen, and especially in the pandemic. My husband and I don't know how we've survived. I wish that I could go back and not have thrown that piece of bread at him. Maybe I should have just walked away. I was very mad. I was holding a piece of bread and I threw it in his face. Was that necessary? No. But, when you're, juggling work and kids and a marriage, there are things that you are going to look back on and say, if I could go back, I wish that I had done it a different way. And I think that we all have those things.
Definitely.
So Kim, I know that, you've got a family, you've got your family YouTube, you've got your family Facebook. I'm sure you've got a plethora of things that you could think of that if you went back, you would do differently. Can you give me one?
So many. Mine, I feel like are a little more serious though. I think I didn't realize this about myself, but I'm super type A.
Okay.
And I think I probably would not, we're still deep into the parenting journey, but I think the COVID shutdown of everything has taught me just to chill the hell out.
Yeah.
And so I think I was always stressing about getting places to on time. And so, that was a little more serious. But yeah, and even just down to the YouTube stuff, we put out that Christmas Jammies video in 2013. We had no idea that YouTube was a job. We didn't know you're supposed to get subscribers. We didn't know you're supposed to do more videos. It took us 2 years before we were doing them with regularity. If we had known, like,
Right.
I regret, we should have had another video out like 2 days later. Like, we
Right.
should have kept
Right.
going then. So like we didn't publish, we didn't have a Facebook page for several years. So like just silly business stuff like that.
Of course.
Like, we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah.
And again, whether it's big or small, funny or serious, I just feel like it feels good to say it out loud and
Absolutely.
then just let it be out in the universe and we move on, because I'm the kind of person who can hold on to those things. So to look back and say, I wish I had done this, I could have done it differently, maybe I'll do it differently in the future, sort of feels cathartic, and you just kind of get it out there.
Well, I did everything perfectly, so.
I figured. I figured.
Quiet through the No.
She's the model.
Thank you, Nicole.
Of course.
Joining us today. That's so much fun, and we will certainly look for you every morning on Hits One. I always love the morning
Yeah.
mashup.
Yeah.
Yay.
And-
Yay. Until next time, ladies, I look forward
Absolutely.
to doing If I Could Go Back again next time.
Sounds
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Terrific. Well, we have our mommy Zoomers coming in to join us today to meet Kim. They're very excited because, like Leslie, they did not dog ear their book, but they did read it all.
You're criticizing me for my dog earing.
I love it. I love it.
Maybe I have a little type A like Kim.
I guarantee you that she's not going to find a fan like you, Leslie. That's read that book like that.
There you go.
I mean, it's probably hopes she does. But
I know, it's great.
I know.
I'm giving it to other
I love
people.
it.
Like, I'm buying
Yeah.
it for people.
I
I'm
love
saying here, like, it's just, what do you buy your friends at this age that they need, right? So you're sort of like, if I'm going to spend
That's
$20
a
on a
great
book,
book.
you're like,
Well,
hey, no criticism against your marriage. Like, you don't want
This-
to define
no.
that with your friends. I'm not criticizing, but it's a
Yeah,
great
you know
book.
what? I'm surprised. I bet you anything that my kids give me that for Christmas. they wouldn't even know that this happened. But yeah, that's probably my husband and I. That will be our joint Christmas present.
Well, who do we have out there on Zoomer Moms?
We have Julie Orchid is here with us today. Julie, hey Julie.
Hey.
Julie is the mom of 2 daughters, and she's a nurse by profession. And welcome, Julie.
Thank you.
Angela McComb.
Yeah.
There's Angela. Angela is the mom of 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son, and she's also in the health field. And she and I were baseball moms together, so we have gone through a lot together. If we could go back, I bet we could think of a lot of things we could do.
A lot.
Yeah. And Jennifer Marsh, who has an architectural background and 2 kids. She has, 5 kids in a way. She has 2 kids, a son and a daughter, and 3 dogs. 2 puppies.
Two which are puppies. It's like just to define.
Yes,
like,
yes.
She's
2
living
puppies.
in the puppy world.
So, ladies, we are thrilled today. We have Kim Holderness. I know you all are all excited. It's like every day we share a video from the Holderness family, and to brighten our day. So we're so happy to have her here. And Angela, do you have any questions for Kim? Anything you'd like to ask her?
So, Kim, I have a daughter who is 26, a daughter that is 21, and a son that is 19. And I've been married 27 years. We're very happily married. But at year 5, we hit like this major wall, because all of a sudden we were raising kids and trying just to do life. And we both felt like such failures, because we were sort of grew up with the thought that both of our families had these perfect marriages and never fought. And we went to counseling too, and we always say that we've had 26 of 27 years great. Year 5 was awful. But how do you, because we have made a conscious decision in our marriage to try to allow our children to see that we have disagreements, that it's okay to see a fight, and a healthy fight, and then get to the other side and forgiveness and move on. How did you come to the realization for your own family that was something? Because I really feel, even with my 20-somethings now, as they're sort of in important relationships in their lives, that is still something I try to impress upon them, that everybody fights, just like the title of your book.
My parents divorced. Not after 27 years of marriage. I'm glad you guys, but they were married for 27 years and they got divorced. And I would say most of those, they're both remarried now and very happy with their people. So they both have happy endings. But I would say most of the time they were fighting, it was not like we would see like door slamming, one person would grab the keys. They separated so many times and it was like, is dad here? Is he gone again? Like it was that sort of thing. And so or in the morning, like she'd be making pancakes and he'd give her a kiss. Like, I'm like, wait, is he back? What are we doing? Are we doing this? So I never was given the opportunity, I don't think, to see how people actually resolve things. So that's how I kind of adopted the grab the keys and leave, like get out of the car in the middle of the fight type of situation, because I saw you leave and then whenever you come back, everything's like magically better. And so that's my fighting style. So like the first time I tried to do that with Penn, he was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you have to sit here. So I realized very quickly I needed my kids to see. And again, we fight in a very respectful way. Like we literally put out ground rules and we're not cussing at each other. We're not screaming at each other. We're not name calling. I know how to hurt him. He knows how to hurt me. We try not to do it. So it was really important that our kids see that in the heat of the moment, things can get tense. You can negotiate things. You can, hear your person. And then that's what it is. That's what it is. Maybe you're tense for like through dinner, but then you get over it and you wake up the next day and you're still partners. And I have to say, this process has taught me how to be pretty resilient too. Like we get over our fights really quickly. So it was important that my kids see that as an example that they carry into their friendships, that they carry into their future partnerships, because you should be able to stand up for yourself and you should be able to like have discussions with respect. And then you should see how it's like, it's going to be okay. You're not going to lose. I was always scared of conflict because I felt like if you fought, then you would end up get divorced. So then I just wouldn't, if I didn't leave, I just wouldn't talk about anything because I didn't want to get divorced. And that's just not how it works. So it was super important to me that my kids see that, because it wasn't, and my parents did the very best they could. But I also think like there's this like veil of secrecy. Like when you're dating your person, you can talk to your girlfriend and be like, oh my God, can you believe he did this? And then the second you get married, you don't talk to your friends about things and you don't talk. So we like to talk to our kids about our fights. Like we're like, okay, this is what was going down and this is why it was important to me and this is why it was important to him, but now we're okay. Like, yeah. And so it might be an issue we talk about in the future, but we're fine. Mm-hmm. What are you doing for dinner?
Yeah, that's actually great to share with your kids what happened and why, and that it's over. And that's a great idea, actually. It's just not lingering. There's times that my kids might think we're still mad at each other, and we're not. No. So they're on tender hooks, and, we're fine. So
yeah, we're fine.
Yeah. Jennifer, do you have any questions for Kim?
I have so many questions for you, and I really love so much about your book because I feel like you can reach people through humor much more effectively than you can. And also just the lab rat perspective of like, we're not experts. We've just been through this. It's kind of, and I love that perspective, which is fresh from every other book I've read that's written by experts. And we're just experts because we're humans going through this together, which is kind of what the Moms Club's about. It's like, no one's going to go through this journey the same way twice. Yeah. But my favorite part of your book was where you say, I hate the you complete me. That's just like not real life. And it's not even a good life. Like, the thing about marriage is you're supposed to be, flexing your muscles in your relationship. It's how you grow. And so the whole you complete me thing was, I love that you brought that up. And Angela, I know your marriage very well. And I love hearing that you had a year that was awful because it doesn't yeah.
I agree.
That's a good friend.
And Chris too.
Thank God. It's like because you just know that like this isn't supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be like rainbows. Like you talked about how your dog is named Sunny because your first dog, that you loved the dog, but it just didn't work out. And, sometimes marriages don't work out, but, the myth, it destroys a lot of marriages that are perfectly good marriages, I think.
Yeah, I think that I hated that. I remember watching that movie in the movie theater going like, no, don't say that. Because if you're waiting on someone to make you happy, like I'll be happy when I get married or I'll be happy when this happens, like, girl, it ain't going to happen. So, but because as somebody who suffers with anxiety and depression, I know that's on me. Like, he's a great partner through that. But like we tell our kids all the time, and I think, did Oprah say this? I don't know. You're responsible for the energy you bring into a room. And I think that was Oprah, Brene Brown, one of those people. But I'm like, you have to bring it. You're responsible for it. So, yeah.
Julie, how many questions for Kim?
Listen, Kim.
Julie.
I'm sitting here with my arms crossed because I'm pit sweating, let's be honest, because I am one of the people at the Moms Club that is currently going through a divorce.
I'm sorry.
So, thank you. But I only bring it up because I really, really appreciate the fact that in the beginning of the book, you said, kind of disclaimer, listen, these, you know what I mean? You mentioned people like myself, so I really was able to take a deep breath. Like, I can get through this. I can listen to this. I can learn from this. And you make it so easy to open up and listen to your amazing book. So I really, for the moms who are listening, who may be in my situation or have gone through my situation, it is so, I respect that. And I really, really thank you for doing that and appreciate it. Because I'm not sure I could have continued listening until you acknowledge the fact that maybe sometimes this doesn't always work out.
Well, I'm sorry you're going through divorce. After seeing, it's unfortunately very common. And after seeing my parents go through it, I knew going in that that wasn't, I just needed to not go through that.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I talk to my mom most days.
Yeah.
She was like, she's now retired and her husband's retired.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm the happiest I've ever been. And she and her husband have been married now, I should know this, but 15 years or something. Like, they got married 2 or 3 years after the divorce. She's like, I'm the happiest I've ever been. And she talks, and he loves her so well. So I feel like and the context, we brought it up in the book, and it was important for me to acknowledge, is that we reference getting counseling and therapy as maintenance on your car. You do the preventative maintenance, you do the oil changes, but sometimes your car gets totaled. Sometimes things happen that no one predicted or no one saw coming, and it happens, and I'm sorry you're going through it.
Well, I appreciate it. I just wanted to segue into that. So I love the way that you described being at the bottom of the ocean and having no air. But, Penn, and for you as well, you guys are each other's safety net. So you talked about how important it is to feel safe. And I think that's critical in any relationship. But more importantly, thank you for the humor. It's amazing. And my question is, how much do you think your kids are picking up on your communication style? Because they're learning that it trickles from the top, and they're picking up on basically how to fight. How do you have a healthy fight? So do you think they are listening? Do you think they're learning? What do you think they think?
Well, it's hilarious. You're absolutely right. Kids are so observant, and we changed the way we talk to them and the way we communicate. And we're saying, we dissect when they fight. We try not to jump in too much, but we'll referee sometimes and be like, okay, let's start with how it makes you feel. And my son will be like, well, I feel like she was da-da-da-da-da. I'm like,
you're like, back up.
No. I feel like she's being a turd. So that's not, but I hope and I pray. I think they both are. What I see more than even how they communicate is so my husband's parents, they're in skilled nursing now, and they don't even, at this point, they can't even acknowledge who each other are on most days, but they're in the same facility. But he's still like, his dad still like lights up a little bit when he sees her. And it wasn't like they had the perfect marriage, but his dad always like worshipped his mom.
Yeah.
You know, just like in those little ways. And so Penn, he will like, if I'm in, like last night I was in bed and I was so tired. And he was climbing to bed. I'm like, honey, I couldn't even like sit up to reach the lamp to turn it off on my side. I'm like, will you please turn off my lamp? Like, and he's like, okay. And he did it. Like, I wouldn't have done that, right? But like those little things. And so I see my son with his sister knows how much like he worships her in her computer, like just today, because they're like asynchronous school schedules. And she's like, my computer's about to die. And he ran upstairs and got her charger. And I'm like, it's those little things that I think they're picking up on, of just that general, like, be nice to each other. Like, just like be nice to each other.
Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for joining the Moms Club today.
It was so fun.
And we encourage all the moms out there to, if you have never watched a Holderness video, absolutely, you must. It is so much fun. And definitely pick up a copy of Everybody Fights. So why not get better at it?
And you can tab it like me if you feel inclined.
That's right. And call Leslie if you have any other questions and you can't reach Kim at the time. So thanks again, Kim, for joining us. And thank you for joining us in the Moms Club. You can catch us on our Instagram account is at Inside the Moms Club. We have a website, Inside the Moms Club, and we are going to start doing segments on Clubhouse. So if you're a Clubhouse member, you're going to want to join in some of our discussions. And, you know, we're moms. It could go on all day long. So it could be a lot of fun.
And these things could go on for hours if we really...
Well, that's true. And we also want to thank our sponsor, Blitz Concessions, which is the solution for all organizations that are run by parent volunteers who want to raise money for concessions, drive-through dinners, swag sales, and in our new COVID, we hope not for too much longer, touch-free environment, which as a germaphobe, I hope that lasts forever, you will want to use their app, which until you don't have to develop your own. So check them out at www.blitzconcessions.com. And we are unfortunately out of time. It has been another great hour together.
Yep.
We want you to join us again. We know that your me time is special and precious, and we really appreciate you spending some of it with us. Remember to keep laughing. That is our motto. If you don't laugh sometimes, you're going to cry. So thanks again. Bye for now. See you next time on Inside the Moms Club. Hi, welcome to Inside the Moms Club, where being a mom is the coolest place to be. Here in the Moms Club, we believe that what embarrasses you now will make a great story later. And let's face it, if you don't laugh sometimes, you're going to cry. Join us in having a good laugh together. I'm Monica Samuels. You are now a member of Inside the Moms Club, your private destination for all things mom. Welcome, moms everywhere. So glad everyone could join us today. It's a really fun show, and I'm here with my co-host, Leslie Harrell. Hello, Leslie.
Hello, glad to be here.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, since we did our last show, it's been some interesting times. I went out of town with my husband for a week, and we left our oldest son here to take care of the house, which was interesting. And he recently, have you actually seen my Aura Ring?
Oh,
my
no,
Aura Ring, which monitors every part of my health.